Nick is muted.
No, I'm not. Relax. Spain, it just takes a little bit of time here to get started. I tell you why I was muted, because I was excited by that new music. That's like a late night show intro. We got like a live band. The MAFFS orchestra is there in the side. That's very exciting. That was a good start. Well done to Josh Parrish, who you put the music on that, Josh. So thank you for making this show a little bit more fun this week. How are you?
I am good. I definitely did all the hard work with that video intro. Just finding that royalty-free music really took it out of me.
Hey, you got to do that. Hey, look, today, huge show. But obviously it's a massive day for Australian football. We finally got a second division, and because of that, MAFFS itself has a bit of pro rel. We've relegated Teo. Terrible performance last week. Given what did he say, that Hutchie should own glory, and then it came out this week that Hutchie's like going to go broke or something like that. So terrible performance, right? Josh, you were bang on the money with your Daniel Ricciardo stuff, and then how about people last week? I saw people going, "Well, I just don't know if he actually has the money." Guys, it's a minority investment. Is what he's the face. He gets, I don't know, the guy who owns Red Bull or something to actually put the money. That's how it works. You got to think big picture. Someone who's thinking big picture, and this is why he's been promoted to the show. Nick DeBano, number one in the universe. There is 7 billion people on this planet. Who knows the outer space alien species? But guess who is number one in A-League women's fantasy? Nick DeBano. Welcome to the show. How do you feel?
Well, thank you very much for the introduction there, Stoll. Thank you for having me. It's great to meet you as well, Joe. I know you've been clamoring for weeks to finally have this meeting of the minds, but it's here. I feel like I'm waiting for, I forgot his name. Who was the runner, the American runner who made that big issue about how the NBA champions are called the world champions? And it's like,
I don't remember it.
The world. I'm just waiting for that kind of moment with A-League women's fantasy saying, you're not the champion of the universe. You're just the champion of that. Who have you beaten? There might be another offshoot. I don't know.
Do you have data on, like people are playing all around the world and that kind of thing? Like, do you have data that people are playing from outside Australia? Like, it is possible, right?
Give me like 2 minutes.
Oh, you could just make it up.
This is how Nick's winning. He's just logging into the back end and changing a few
No, I don't. Look, I can say I definitely don't have back end access. If there's any, for all you conspiracy theorists out there, but I'm not fudging the scores.
The truth is out there, folks.
It's actually quite easy. If you go into like the ranking section, you can just filter by the location they say that they're from. So you press other, and there are people that are playing from outside of Australia.
So that you're world champion. You're world champion. As long as people are able to compete from outside of the world, you are world champion. Joe Simon, do you think Nick DeBano is secretly going into the back end and cheating? Because I'm like, now he doth protest a little too much, I think.
Yeah. No, I think when he just said, then, you just go into the back end, you search by this, maybe delete the 1 million other players, and then, you become the best in the world. It's as simple as that, boys.
Look, you know what? I like it, DeBano, because you got to do what you need to do to win. All right. And I respect it. All right. Look, we've already got questions coming in via YouTube, which is great. We really appreciate it. Jack M, is there a ring for the winner of A-League men's women's fantasy? DeBano, what is your price? What is on the line?
It's a prize pool. Like it's there's money on the line at the end of whoever wins A-League men's and A-League women's fantasy. If you head over to keepup.com.au, there's a whole.
You should have told Stoll that at the start of the season.
Yeah, see, it's all a bit of fun and games if you're deleting the other users just for the crown. But if there's money involved, you might go to jail, mate.
But if you literally go on the fantasy section, there's a whole thing for prizes. So you win $1,500 if you finish first, $750 if you finish second, and $500 if you finish third. So and there's also weekly prizes if you finish get the best score of the round. So there is money on the line, fellas.
So if you see Nick DeBano driving around in a brand new Isuzu Ute next year, you know why.
Here's what I'd also say is that this podcast is going to pivot towards being a true crime podcast. This is actually why we got DeBano on this week. This was a sting. All right. Now we've caught him. This is episode 1. May the investigations please continue.
I'm going to get grilled tomorrow when I go back to work tomorrow. I had today off. I was riding high on my day off. I'm going to roll in tomorrow and I'm going to get absolutely grilled
Oh,
Big interrogation about what's
I
going
know.
on.
I know. You know what?
You guys have put me in an uncomfortable position. What are you doing, man?
No, it's lovely to
Right.
have you here, mate. As you said before, it's been too long, that we haven't met. And I do like as well, we obviously, our show is called MAFFS. We share a lot of similarities with Married at First Sight. The name, even the logo, is very similar. Now, obviously, our
But
style
different
as well,
for
'cause
legal
legal
reasons.
reasons, but
Similar but
Exactly.
legally distinct, I think.
Completely
also-
different.
we clearly share some of the same values because we've just had a hot young single enter the villa with Devano. Tio's been evicted.
But hold on, hot young single. Sorry, it is MAFF. Are they in a villa? I thought that was
I
Love
don't know,
Island.
mate.
Love Island. I think you're getting the two shows mixed up.
Yeah, nah, it's cool. You know what might have happened is that you guys, what you two have in common is a similar internet connection. I don't know who your provider is. We're not going to say their name on air because potentially it's a big company in Australia that maybe has had some problems lately. But anyway, don't worry about them. But Ben Smith does point out in the comments that the best thing about having Debano on is the deep puns. Like, let's be honest. And the microwave is an early one from Ben Smith.
The best thing.
Daniel says the Late Show with MAFFS, and then Daniel also came in with the Isuzu D-Max. Which
It's
fantastic.
still funny because for any live show, podcast, anytime I go into a meeting and I'm working from home or anything like that, I have to send the same message to the rest of my family saying no microwave for this amount of time. It is literally like straight in the group chat, straight a thing. It's like 1 hour, block it out. You know what I mean? It's like put it in your calendar, no microwave. So it's been something.
Unfortunately, they never received that message in the group chat because they were defrosting an entire roast.
Just put it on a good half hour. See how that goes. What actually? Here's a question for you. Very random one. What's the longest you've ever set the microwave to? Like, I don't think I've ever gone
My
past,
microwave?
like 4 minutes or something.
You've never cooked something for like, I don't know, cooked rice in the microwave or something and put it in for like 20 minutes?
No.
No? Really?
No, got to use a rice cooker.
Now we're getting to the bottom of the
There you go.
problem.
Well, that's you know what, whenever I know, like if the microwave is like, if the internet's just crap the whole time, I just know I go downstairs and straight away it's like on for 20 minutes. Yep, we're cooking rice or something like that. It's never
We're
more
cooking
than
rice,
20
boys.
minutes. We've had to make the move from the microwave to the stove recently though, because it's just too disruptive. The whole house goes out of action. It's like a 20-minute just blackout in the entire area.
You know,
Here's another question. Here's another question. Have any of you ever used the numbers on the keypad of your microwave?
Nah.
I'm just an add 1 minute guy.
Yeah.
30-second button. Just
I've used the minutes. I've used the
wow.
minutes.
You're a microwave
I've used the
expert.
minutes.
You know what, Debano, I was just going to say, it's good that you're just cooking rice and not cooking the books, because that kind of was what we were alleging earlier in the show, but it's good. You're moving on. First
Keep
the
doing
books,
that, and there's
then the
gonna
rice.
be, my lawyers will be in touch with a defamation suit, mate. So yeah.
Joe, sorry, I interrupted.
What about the washing machine, mate? How long do you usually pop that on for?
Wait, is this make Australian football the appliance show or something?
Do you want to know how long I put my dishwasher on as well for?
Yeah,
do you want to know, like,
Toast it 2 to 3, right? You don't go into that 3 to 4 range.
Yeah, that's
oh,
crazy.
Sometimes, if you got to really like your bread nice and crunchy, we get to around 4.
All right, guys, this has been the dumbest start we've ever had to the show. Which
We're
is
10 minutes in.
10 minutes in, and all we've discussed is microwave and toast technique. Guys, let's get it back on track. What made Australian football fun for you this week? Start with you, Josh.
My favorite thing this week was how clear it became to me that no one has ever read a media release and no one will ever read a media release based on some of the questions and the reactions on Twitter to the national second tier announcement and the foundation clubs. I like as well that in line with that, we've gone back to the 3 foundation members of this podcast. You know, we've gotten rid of Teo, and then, you know, we've sourced some additional applications for membership of the podcast. And that's where, you know, Nick Debano, maybe the Adelaide City of the podcast is come in for us. But I saw a lot of people saying, oh, it's just Victoria and New South Wales. I'm like, yeah, that's where most of the people live. But also, there's potentially 4 more spots to be added. So everybody calm your farm, hold your horses. It's going to be okay.
Joe, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
I was at the Socceroos game last week, which is a lot of fun in itself, and I'm sure we'll get to that. But Yengi making his Socceroos debut was a lot of fun for me. He's 24 now, playing in Portsmouth, 5 goals in 9 appearances. He's playing with Alex Robertson as well in Portsmouth. So good bit of form. He's big. He's a really, like, I know we put out a lot of big boys the other day, but he has a real presence about him, just like in size and just the way he moves about. He charges around. I really like the look of him. And, with Qual and Kunda coming through, that could be a really exciting attack. So that was fun.
I've got some, speaking of big, I got some exclusive analysis on Harry Sutar to come up with. But Debano, what made Australian football fun for you this week?
Joe, I thought you were describing one of the centre-half forwards who are going in the draft tonight instead of Cassini Yengi, the way you're talking about his size and the way that he moves. Sounded like Kefton Shifter Sheehan. No, for me this week, it was Saturday night. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the dub later, but Perth Glory, Melbourne victory. If you haven't watched the highlights or gone and watched the game, definitely go back and do so. A really, really fun game out there at Macedonia Park. And 4. I mean, if you want to be that person and say, oh, one of the goals took a deflection, then you're not really that fun. This podcast isn't for you. But there were 4 really good goals in different ways, like a free kick from the edge of the box. Yes, a volley that took a deflection, but it was really nicely hit. It just looked really cool aesthetically. And the second one was a volley on the same foot from the same player, Rachel Lowe, 5 minutes later. And then a really good team goal in the 96 minutes to equalise for Perth. And Macedonia Park looked, I mean, last year we spoke so much about when they put the temporary seats and the men's team played there and how good it looked when they had about, a full house there. Even without the temporary seating and, a decent crowd at Macedonia Park, it went off when Hannah Lowry scored that equaliser at the end. So a really fun game for those who stayed up on the Eastern Seaboard and great for those in prime time over in the West. But yeah, just an awesome game of football and certainly one that really stood out this weekend.
And shout out to Teo for commentating that game.
Yeah.
And I did see the commentary on the last goal. It was awesome. What did he say? Like the foundation of youth or something, or the exuberance of youth. There was some line in there that I was like, oh, that was good. Hey, speaking of good, the comments coming in. Jack says, MAFFS making appliances effing fun again. Jess also makes the point. The Vix $, the New South Wales $. Yeah, I get it. It's all happening. Jack makes the point that we lost viewers after Debano told people to piss off early in the show, which I like. I like it. You know what?
Hey, they were listening. That's all we can ask.
We don't want you here if you don't want it. Ossak also makes the point that you made, Joe, which was Yengi looks dangerous. I like that a lot. Let's talk about the Socceroos 7, Bangladesh 0. Look, it started off with a pretty incredible header from Harry Sutar. Did you guys saw that header? You guys were all at the game, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was incredible. And obviously, like Harry Sutar, especially against kind of these early rounds in Asian qualifying, he does quite well because look, this is a large man, right? And so a lot of the analysis I saw was centering around that. But, it was huge to hear this about him this week.
He's a massive guy. This big, powerful guy. This guy he is a monster. A giant of a man.
One really large person.
I've seen a lot of people over the years. Big people.
I have a friend, big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
This big, strong friend of mine who weighed like 250 then, which 250 then is big. That's like 310 now, right? This was a long time ago.
That's a good bit of craft.
And he's on mute again.
Oh, am I on mute again?
You're back now.
I'm just saying, it's just great that Harry Sutar's size, it's impressive. Maybe people go on about it a little too much. But, I mean, the fact that it's going international and Trump, for whatever reason, has become obsessed with Harry Sutar, I love to see it. But, guys, Josh, you were at the game. What did you think of the 7-0? Should it have been 8? Are we disappointed that we missed the elusive 8th?
Firstly, take that, Bangladesh. That'll teach you to come to Melbourne Rectangular Stadium and have delusions of playing out from the back with a Spanish coach and everything. No, I actually the most fun I had at the game was probably talking to the Bangladeshi press, because I'm always interested in like what's the Bangladeshi football Twitter discourse, like what's the problems with the Bangladeshi FA. What are people filtering off about? Yeah, is there pro rel for Bangladesh? Now, I'm genuinely fascinated by all that stuff. And I was chatting to one of the journalists who came over, as a TV journo, Rafat Masood is his name. And we were just sitting together, and I was saying, what do you think? Like, how's it going to go? And he was like, he just looked at me and shook his head. And then the first pass, the kickoff came back to Jackson Irvine, and he just hoofed it out for a throw. And I turned to him and I went, "You might be on here." And he just shook his head again, and he went, "Still 5-0 at least." And to be honest, the guy was right. He knows his Bangladeshi football. One of the things he said that really fascinated me was, this pitch is too good for us. He said the surfaces in Bangladesh are so bad that when we come and play on an actual carpet, we have no idea what to do, because they're used to being able to like pressure the first touch and basically just nick the ball off people and stuff. And when they come and play on like a surface like Amy, which is like 30% synthetic and totally uniform, it actually is like a disadvantage to them. And he said, when you guys come to Bangladesh, we're going to give you an absolute cow paddock, and then we'll see how it goes.
Hey, just lob it up to Harry Suter. Like, we're fine in the air. Don't worry.
Absolutely. But no, he also told me that nearly all of the players come from the same pretty dominant club in their league that also has a Spanish coach. And he was saying they think they're trying to be Barcelona, which he has his reservations over, playing out from the back and all sorts. But I was like, well, you're not exactly going to play like hoofing long balls to your towering centre forwards. So there wasn't much else they really could have done. I thought they did a decent job considering, picking themselves up from conceding so early. And the Socceroos, I mean, what are we really going to learn from a game like that where they were just so physically dominant on the wings and, just smashed goals in? I was impressed with a couple of performances. I thought Connor Metcalf was really great, and Jordan Boss getting up the wing looked really good as well. But yeah, not a lot to gain from that match. I don't think, not much to learn from that.
Joe, did you learn anything from it?
No, not really. I felt bad for the two Bangladesh fans in front of me who were just watching the cricket on their phone for most of the time. Look, it was a little bit. You're right, Josh. There wasn't much to learn from it, and you could tell. I mean, we scored so early, and do you think Graham Arnold? Obviously, he's looking at their side and going, "Look, we've got the height here." But I mean, to put Mitch Duke, Sutar, Cam Burgess, we were towering over them. That Sutar goal was like leaning over a nonna at the supermarket. Like, he was 2 meters taller than the next player. And it was a little bit sad at times. I felt a little bit bad for them, but I agree, Josh. I thought Boss was really good. I was really impressed by Lewis Miller. He was playing right back. You would think maybe went well defending, but he was almost our most dangerous outlet in the second half as well. Like, just the way he was taking on, putting in crosses and accurate crosses too. I think the first couple he put in were a little bit high and wide, and then he sort of thought to himself, "I've got a bit more time here. I'll take my time." And he put in some really dangerous balls. I really liked the look of that. You could see him improving throughout the game.
Just on Miller, he got really aggro with one of the Bangladeshi players who was marking him. I thought there was going to be a fight at one point. It was quite early in the first half, and the guy went through him and got a yellow card. And that was one of the things that the Bangladeshi journo was telling me. He's like, that tackle in Bangladeshi Premier League, not even a foul. Apparently, it's no holds barred stuff. So that's the other thing they struggle with, is like AFC referees who are quite persnickety, I would say.
It does.
That was definitely a yellow card. I'm not excusing the challenge, but he said, we tend to get pinged for a lot of stuff that would just be let go.
I never thought of Bangladeshi as like kind of old school English football, like your dad kind of, in my day, that would have been a fine tackle. This pitch, what are you complaining about? We used to play on divots in the sand. Don't worry about it. Tabata, what was your thoughts on the match? Was there anything that really stood out to you?
What I wanted to raise was, I wonder what Arnie's team talk was at halftime, because I don't know if you guys saw this the other day when France beat Gibraltar 14-0 and Didier Deschamps said the record's 10-0, guys. Go out there and let's don't rest. Let's go and break the record. I wonder with 4-0, he's like 28 more, guys.
You know what? So it's a good point, right? Because
at
a certain point, you realize very early on that you're going to win the game. Right? Like, without being too disrespectful to Bangladesh, we're going to win the game, right? They're ranked, I don't know, I think it was the lowest ranked team we've played since like the days of Oceania or something, like in terms of the difference between us and them. And this qualification campaign, is going to be long, especially because there's more chance of us qualifying for this, so there's less jeopardy. So there is more kind of time to, let's say, experiment, to take risks, to do certain things. So are there any experiments that you guys would like to see? I mean, is it, do we put Harry Sutar on his knees in the box and see if he can do it? Do we bring the keeper up? Do we do like kind of like baseball in cricket? Do we bring the keeper up for every single set piece? Do we try and develop? You remember how like Chilavert, the Paraguayan goalkeeper, or Rogerio Ceni used to take all the set pieces, all the free kicks, let's see it. Should we do that in these early stages? Let's try and bring something new to the world of football. Debano, I feel like you got something.
No, well, you made a good point, because Matty Ryan's been lauded for his brilliant delivery with his feet his entire career. Everyone's always spoken about he's so good with his feet. He's one of the best, keepers playing out from the back, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I guess it's a gamesmanship thing, though. Like, I mean, is that kind of like bringing him up towards the end of the game, kind of like having a shot in the NBA when there's 10 seconds to go and the game's done, and the other team like body checks and goes, that's not allowed?
You know what I'd say it is? I'd say it's the equivalent of when you're up by 20 and you get the ball like in transition in basketball, and then you do like a windmill dunk or something. It's just to get the crowd going. All right. It's just, yes. Is it a bit disrespectful? Yes, possibly. But at the same time, we need to make these games fun a little bit. Like, because the truth, I was thinking about this. There was a bit of complaints about, maybe there wasn't enough people, or maybe there wasn't enough media around this game. Maybe the TV ratings weren't as good as they were. We were playing Bangladesh this is essentially the pre-season of World Cup qualifying. All right, with all the respect, this is just go through the motions, have a bit of a hit out, score the goals. But we need to do it to make it fun. We need to play these games. We can't just be like, all right, just put us automatically through to, the last round, and it'll be us versus Japan and Saudi Arabia. Like, we need to, then everyone needs to have their opportunity to do this. But at the same time, let's make these games fun. And, I remember back in the day, it used to be really fun when, I remember going to a game in Australia, I think Solomon Islands, Australian Solomon Islands. And, it was cool because we never got to see Viduka. We never got to see Kuhl. And suddenly they were in front of us. And that was amazing. Maybe in the future we'll have that with Iran Kunda and Kuol and but right now it's not like anyone's really clamoring to, oh my God, I have to go see Jackson Irvine in person, as much as we love Jackson Irvine. So Josh, what can we do to just jazz it up a bit, put a bit of mustard on it?
I mean, you're acting as if we weren't experimenting already. We're already letting Mas Luongo take penalties. He's 0 for 4 in his career.
Look, I mean, that's true. That's true.
Jorginho territory now, because Jorginho's like lost his touch with penalties at the moment, and he's like, he can't score, and everyone's saying he can't
Luongo never had it. He's never scored one, so that would have been nice to break the streak. Actually, I did notice how supportive the Melbourne crowd was of Luongo. He seemed to be a real fan favorite, and everyone was really happy that he was back in the team, especially from the crowd reaction. And everyone was really, really heartbroken when he didn't score. But I mean, I think we should be going full Thiago Motta and playing. What was that formation that he had?
Yes. 2-7-2 or something.
2-7-2.
No, you can't.
Does that add up?
Yep. I think it's 2. Hang on.
Because the goalkeeper was part of the midfield.
Debano plays it in.
No, it was 2-7-2 because he did count the goalkeeper. Yeah, sorry, Stoll.
The goalkeeper wasn't part of the 2. The goalkeeper was part of the 7. The goalkeeper was in midfield. That's what I think we should be doing.
Yeah.
Arnie's stock is probably as high as it's ever been, so he's probably not going to get fired anytime soon. But when he does, we need to start the campaign. Thiago Motta for Socceroos boss, at least just for these early stages.
He's actually killing it in Italy at the moment, Stoll. He's not going anywhere. I think he's probably going to get a top job.
Where's he at? Well, I've been totally out
at the moment, and they're actually in some decent form at the moment. I think that where are they now on the table? They're 8th, and by their standards, that's like pretty good. So they could play in Europe next year. So if Motta, I don't think you'll be looking at the Socceroos. I think you might be looking at another big job somewhere else. Whichever team stuffs up at the Euros.
This is like Bielsa all over again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, Bielsa, did you see Bielsa with Uruguay? No worries, I'll just take little Uruguay and I'll just knock off world champions Argentina and I'll just knock off Brazil for like the first time in 50 years. Yeah, good that we didn't get Bielsa. Look, Joe, any final thoughts on Socceroos Bangladesh? Did you see any people in the crowd with Afghanistan flags who were maybe disappointed because they read Robbie Slater's piece, which had the Afghanistan flag in the preview, and they thought, oh, great, I'll go support Afghanistan. Were any confused people there?
I brought mine just in case. No, there wasn't, unfortunately. That would have been great. But I'm totally with you to mix it up, because when there was two of the most obvious things that happened in this game. Firstly, when I saw Jamie McLaren coming on, you just knew he was going to score a hat trick of the exact goal that he scored 3 times on that night. And the second one was the penalty that Bangladesh conceded. You mentioned before that Lewis Miller was kind of getting under the skin of some of the defenders. This was, I believe, Aidan O'Neill who nicked the ball back, but there was a few. He took the player on. He kind of just nicked it back. It might have been a foul. You could see the Bangladesh defender was riled up, and you could see it was like it was happening in slow motion. You could see from miles away that this defender is going to wait until he gets into the box and then trip him up for a penalty, and that's exactly what happened. I don't want to see that anymore. I'm with you. I want to see 272 Motta style.
272 for the Socceroos. Yeah, we can make it work. I'm just looking at the stats, 29-1. Do any of you remember the one Bangladeshi shot, and was it even close at all? Yeah, go on, describe it.
The only reason why is because I don't know where, Joe, you were sitting, but I was on the wing, sort of the opposite the broadcast cameras, but up on the top level, there were actually like a little cheer squad of Bangladesh fans. And every time the ball started getting past halfway, they just rose. Like there was just this big noise that just came out of nowhere. And from memory, I'm pretty sure it was a long shot that just flew way over the bar. I think it was just like you know what?
Hey,
we're close.
You got to buy a ticket. All right, look, we'll leave the Socceroos there, but look, please let us know in the comments what experiments you'd like to see. 272 goalkeepers taking free kicks, whatever you like. Speaking of experiments, we have a national second division. Josh, you're kind of in this world. If you could, for those that have exactly missed it, those who didn't quite read the press release, explain who are the teams, what's the format, when's it happening, why is it only New South Wales and Victoria, despite half the population living there, but whatever. Explain what's going on.
Yeah, so there's 8 teams that have been named as the foundation clubs. I believe they get special hats and key rings for being like foundation members, just like you would as an A-League. Yep. All the club presidents are being chiseled onto the side of a mountain as we speak. But no, it's a very exciting day. It won't be just an 8-team comp. You can't run a national comp with 8 teams. You're not going to have a 14-round season.
I believe the A-League started as an 8-team comp first season.
Well, yeah, but then they played each other like 56 times each, and it got pretty stale pretty quick. So
glory days.
They will add at least 2 more teams, maybe 4, hopefully 4. But the 8 clubs selected from New South Wales, Apia Leichhardt, Marconi Stallions, Sydney Olympic, Sydney United, and Wollongong Wolves. And from Victoria, Avondale, South Melbourne, and Preston Lions. So there are a few big names missing. A lot of people saying, oh, how could this club not have been included? How could that club not have been included? The answer is probably that they withdrew, or they haven't been able to get their house in order yet, for lack of better terminology. There's particular requirements in terms of facilities, in terms of finances that you have to be able to meet. And from what I understand, one of the reasons behind pushing the boat out to 2025 is to try and give those clubs extra time to be able to meet those obligations. And the likes of Adelaide City probably fall into that category. I saw them tweet today. They quote tweeted the announcement and said, rather cryptically, our national second tier journey continues. So I guess that means they're still in with a shout and they still want to be part of it. There are well-documented issues in Queensland, with the Queensland Federation seemingly being a little bit hostile to the whole thing. And there was documents going around showing that they were going to make any team that, fell out of the national second tier start at the bottom of the pyramid or something, which is absolutely crazy. So hopefully, I believe those negotiations are ongoing, and hopefully that can be sorted so we can get some Queensland representation in there. But No, this is still super exciting to have, a start date, to have 8 confirmed clubs that are going to be part of it, and to know that it is actually happening rather than just kicking the can down the road again and again. To have some detail about it, that it will be a league format and not a Champions League format, which for me would not really be a second tier. It would just be an extension of the NPL national finals, which people weren't that keen on anyway. That's a big step in the right direction.
Debano, your thoughts on the second division?
I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting. We've got a date. Exciting. I mean, that's the one thing. We've got 8 teams lined up, ready to go. I know, as Josh said, plenty of conjecture about where the teams are, who the teams are, the lack of representation from other states. But I'll keep it short and simple. Just read the press releases, guys. It's not hard. It's all available there. And it clearly did say, like, there is time for other teams to put forward their applications, and hopefully we do get more. Because I mean, having an Adelaide City, having a Queensland representative, or 2 representatives from each of those states, whoever it might be, great. But it also, I mean, sorry to keep it too in-house in Victoria and New South Wales here, but it does open the door for more teams from each of those states to also put their own name up into this, because there are big enough clubs that would probably consider themselves right in the hunt to get themselves in, the national second tier. When you're looking at teams that were sort of in that running, Heidelberg United is sort of a team who comes to mind from here. You have Brunswick Juventus and Green Gully, etc., Melbourne Knights as well. For these clubs to sort of, give them a little bit more time to get their house in order, I think is exciting. I mean, not forgetting Tassie. I mean, South Hobart were a team that was strongly linked. There was Canberra, Croatia in the capital, teams out in WA as well. So I hope that, we do get teams from all over the place, but I think the panic at the moment, I think it's just like, park it. Like, there's time, there's still time for, by the time it starts in 2025, that we might have 4 teams from 4 different states. Who knows who they're going to be coming from? The door is open. It'll be fascinating to see what happens from there.
Joe, we really do love to collectively lose our shit incredibly quickly. Like with an incredible amount of speed, do we like to freak out? Oh my God, what's going on? How do you think this is all going to play out? Are you looking forward to it? Are you excited by the future?
I understand the people's frustration with, why hasn't happened or being pushed out so long, but it's so exciting. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to walk down to the Preston Lions and see, who's in my second division fantasy team from there, and watch Debano shoot up the ladder and take all the prizes home. No, but it's very exciting, and obviously there is still time. It's not that long ago we look back at that grand final decision. Of course, there was a lot of uproar there. Now, look what we've got, a beautiful unity round to come out of it, blossoming. So there's plenty of time. Just get excited by it. And I'm sure, once we've got a bit of time under the belt and things plan out, that other teams will join. And
Alan Riley. Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, if you're doing your notes already for 2025 NSD Fantasy, what I will say is get Harry Sawyer in your team from South Melbourne. Definitely the best option up top, especially the way South Melbourne like to play. He's a goal-scoring machine with the long ball. So Harry Sawyer, lock him in your team from now, guys. Set and forget. Done deal.
You have just become fantasy obsessed. Alan Riley makes
if he's still there in 2025, I think he will be, but yeah,
Alan Riley makes a point. Alan lives in Adelaide. Adelaide City Park needs at least 2 years to get a facelift. Facilities are awful. I like Joseph's idea in the comments. He says, we're talking about how can we make it more fun. Get a My Kitchen Rules style tournament for points between each team's canteen. Love it, Joseph.
I love that.
This is the type of thinking that we need. Patrick asked the questions. Your thoughts on promotion, relegation, how it worked for the New Zealand teams? Well, Patrick, pretty simply, we just relegate the New Zealand teams and forget about it. Good luck to you. Nah, it's a joke. It's a joke. I love Wellington. I love Auckland. All good, all good. Nah, I don't know. I mean, Josh.
No, but a New Zealand team will never get relegated from the A-League because they always finish 7th. So you can't get relegated from 7th. Or 9th? Is it 9th?
It's 9th. It's 9th. That's where they always finish. I don't know how that works. I guess they've got time to work all this out. I mean, in 2 years, we'll have a second division. We won't have promotion and relegation in that very first season, right? So they'll need to set up that second division. And also, I just think, like, fundamentally, we're talking about which club should be in it, which club should be in it. What is good is that at least we have a criteria that, in theory, any club anywhere should be able to get into as long as they hit this criteria. Obviously, you need a certain amount of money. Obviously, you need a certain amount of stadiums. It's the same, by the way. It's like Spain has 1 billion teams, right? But it is the same in terms of there's been teams that have come up from the Segunda Division to La Liga that had to massively change their facilities, and almost some of them weren't able to come up because their facilities weren't in order. This is a very normal thing around the world. Yes, there is promotion relegation around the world everywhere, and that's great, and that's how it should be. This should be a fully connected football pyramid, but there also obviously has to be minimum standards that are met by these clubs. And like Alan was saying, in terms of Adelaide City, they need to sort out their facilities. Other clubs will need to sort out whether it's facilities or training grounds or the structure of the club or whatever else. But there's all lots of time. Debana, you're obviously very popular because you're doing so well in A-League Women's Fantasy, and people are asking the questions. Momo Wang says, will Nick Debana feature on the Lakeside scoreboard in the 2025 NST? Debano, are you committing?
Well, 2022 tick, 2023 tick. If we can get to 2024, then we'll see. But yeah, my number is available. Give me a call, and we can organise a photo shoot at any time.
So you could confirm that you haven't sold over your image rights just yet to the Lakeside scoreboard. Those negotiations are still ongoing.
Can't confirm nor deny, Josh. You have to speak to my agent about that one, mate.
Jack says in the comments, he's talking about how we can make this more fun. He's come up with a tagline for the NSD. NSD, it's the football version of LSD. Look, you know what? That could mean very popular in the kind of the Byron Bay, Lismore area. I think if we want to put a team up there, that's what we need to start talking about. Joseph asked the question, what do you call the Johnny Warren medal of the NSD? Wrong options only. Oh, who's the most famous second division player? Who's the king of the second division of the MPL? Who's the MPL king?
Milos Lujic, probably. He was the one who, for years, never got an A-League contract, and was scoring goals for fun. He'd probably be first name off the tip of the tongue. Maybe you could have the Brandon Barnes medal. I'm sure that there's probably Urasevsky, maybe, if we're talking New South Wales.
We've already got a Mark Viduka medal, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
The Australia Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd probably want to tie it to the NSL if you're being serious about it.
Okay.
Because that's the nostalgia power that we're now dealing with. That we need to harness that. So,
Can I give
Joseph says the Kenny Athew medal.
This is real galaxy brain, but actually no, I'm not even going to mention it. No,
all right, fair enough.
Forget it. Park it.
Hey, can I just go back?
Go.
Yeah, Stoll. Can I just go back to the please, thank you. Can I go back to the My Kitchen Rules comment before? I think that's a great idea. And we have South Melbourne and we have Preston, two great clubs, but also two fantastic markets available right next door. So I think there's something there. They should team up. In fact, imagine if Preston Lions renamed to Preston Market, and you were off to play Preston Market this weekend. Mate, I'd be heading over.
See, you know what? This is the show of ideas. I mean, we had Perth's owners. We sorted that out last week. We've sorted out VAR, Socceroos experimentation, NSD. Look, there's some funny comments coming in, but I'm not going to put all of them up on screen because it could cause some controversy. But I'll just say I see them and I like them. Lockie Flanagan says, "Sorry to report, Nick, but Harry Sawyer was just drafted by West Coast as centre half forward. I only understand about 7 of those words, but I don't know if that means anything to you, Debana. But look, NSD, it's exciting. There's a lot of things to do, but it will be good. Hey, Debana, just quickly, let's quickly talk about you being the king of women's W League fantasy, or A League women's fantasy. Sorry, as it is officially known now. As Joe just completely leaves the stream in protest. Maybe he's gone to work on his own team. Tell us, who are the players to watch out for? How have you done that? I mean, we accused you of deleting everything in the back, but how have you actually done it? What's been your secret?
You know what? First of all, a lot of research. Writing a lot of fantasy pieces in the off season has paid off. Basically studying the form, almost like some sort of degenerate gambler. But yeah, literally looking at the form and sort of going okay, who are the good sort of cut price options? premium options. And I guess like sometimes in fantasy, you have a little bit of luck on players that kind of, you some players who are sort of mid-price players who you kind of take a punt on and they come back and I guess, reward you when you're 50-50 with some of them. So having players like obviously, we saw the bad news, or hopefully we get some good news in that front with Holly McNamara. She has been scoring like just crazy the last few weeks. Put the captain on her the last couple of weeks and she scored 23 last week, so 46. Rachel Lowe from Victory has been in incredible form. Vesna Milivojevic from Canberra has been playing. So like kind of built around them and then just had a bit of luck because, with Sydney going over and playing in Asia, had to kind of tinker and make some last minute trades. And there was one I made last Sunday bringing in Annabelle Martin from the Mariners and was just like, I need to have 11 players. Otherwise, I'm not going to have 11 players. I just need to get someone. She's now scored 20 points in back, like combined in the last 2 weeks. So a little bit of like, she's been playing really well, but it was like, geez, this has actually paid off. So a little bit of luck. I'm not going to lie. I'm being brutally honest. There has been some luck, amazing performances from players I did not expect, with some of them just coming in and doing their job and really rewarding from that sense. But also like, when you're in the weeds and you're kind of, having a look at everything else, you're kind of able to pick the best and sort of have a bit of an eye of who's doing well and everything like that. So yeah, a little bit of luck, but also just, spending a lot of time doing a lot of research.
I think you're far too humble because I think you have a future as being a director of football. All right, this is where you should be going. We talked last week about journalists kind of leaving the profession behind, and you are a talented journalist, but going on to big things, going on to being involved in FIFA, going on to owning radio stations that also own NBL teams and whatever else. I think you got a future in building squads. That's clearly what you trades. You've listened to a lot of Bill Simmons over the years. You've heard trade packages and that kind of thing. You're across it. I want to see you in charge of
they call him the Botticelli of the trade machine.
Yeah.
Look,
you're Italian. You'll be doing under the table deals for sure. Like, it's perfect.
Look, Stoll, you talk about Bill Simmons. I mean, I listen to some of his trade packages and then, you start hearing the cogs turning in his brain when he's thinking about trade packages for expiring contracts. And he goes, and he will throw in like that expiring deal is looking, that's one to keep an eye on. And then I start thinking to myself, okay, this player's reached a certain value. Maybe it's time, like, because she needs to get, or he needs to get that higher price if it's in A-League men's fantasy. Maybe it's time to.
And you're thinking, Kirsty Fenton for Annabelle Martin. Who says no?
Yeah. And then, this is how the luck happens. But I mean, fantasy, there is, look, I'll be honest, there is an element of luck. But if you're able to ride it and you start well, which I think certainly helps because, if you don't have those players from the start and you're playing catch up, like, don't even ask me about my A-League men's fantasy team because it is absolutely just tanking at the moment compared to the other ones. So, there's some players that certainly
just go in the back end and delete more players. You'll be fine.
We're going to get you a new login.
I didn't give him the password for that one. That was the problem. Look, if you are playing A-League Women's Fantasy, just basically copy what Dabano's doing. Listen to the A-League Fantasy podcast when Dabano's on it to get that extra stuff. I don't know about the other guys. You know what it should be? The people who should be on that podcast should be whoever the top 3 people are in the entire country. It should
pro rel for
week.
the A-League Women's Fantasy podcast.
Exactly. Pro rel for A-League. If you're not like top 50, I don't want to hear from you at all. Look, I tell you what didn't go well this weekend for me is my La Liga Femenina fantasy team because I had Hailey Razzo in there. And let's be honest, first El Clasico, I went into the stadium Montjuic. Me and 38,000 other people went there. And, it was a pretty cool experience in terms of the first time an Australian has ever been involved in an El Clasico match, at least in football. I know we've had some basketball players playing for Barcelona and for Real Madrid, but, it was pretty amazing to see Hailey Razzo in there. But let me tell you, she did a 45-minute cardio session because Real Madrid got towed up. My goodness. You thought Australia-Bangladesh was one-sided. FC Barcelona Femenina versus Real Madrid Femenina could have been about 11-0. I'm not going to lie. Salma Pareja, who you might remember from the Women's World Cup, the very, very fast forward, she missed about 7 goals. Like, she scored, but she also just was missing a lot of chances. Bon Marti, first time I've ever actually seen her in person. What a ridiculously good player. What a player. I mean, I know you guys saw her kind of during the World Cup, but I know a lot of people said, how unlucky was Sam Kerr to lose the Ballon d'Or to Bon Mati. Man, Bon Mati should have won 2. That's how good she should have won 2 for the same year. She's got, you're so good, and here's another one just for being extra good. Unbelievably good player. Like, I was freaking out. It was a special atmosphere in the Olympic Stadium. It was really good fun. And just in case, you think, this kind of dominance is only temporary. Barcelona had a 17-year-old come off the bench, Vicky Lopez. She came on with like 4 minutes to go, and it's like, it'd be cool if a 17-year-old scored. Literally, it was 3-0 when she came on, and she played 4 minutes, and it was 5-0 by the end. So, absolutely incredible match. And
is she the Spanish Iran Kunda? Are we going to be clamoring for a start for weeks and weeks?
I think so. Honestly, I haven't seen her 3-minute highlights reel, but like, geez, unbelievable. So, it was a crazy performance. But I mean, it also just made me think, like, watching it. It was cool for kind of 2 reasons. One, that it does seem here, and I guess we're seeing it a lot in Australia as well, is that it doesn't really seem any more like, it's this completely separate thing, women's football. Like, I mean, a lot of the Barcelona members who go to the men's matches, I think, were there yesterday. A lot of people were wearing jerseys that were for specifically the women's team. With women's team, whether it was Putellas or Bon Mati or Mapi Leon or whoever it was, it does seem like they're becoming big superstars in their own right. Obviously, they're world champions, they're Champions League winners. Like, this is the best team in the world by far. And I do kind of hope that, we're seeing a lot of massive improvements in the women's game in Australia, but I was thinking we need to get, like, I don't know, the best 5 young coaches in women's football and send them over to Barcelona and, like, just really get down exactly what they're doing, because the production of these players, like, it was unbelievable. Some of the things that I was seeing yesterday. So really good fun to be there. That was my exclusive report from the stands. I think I was the second last row. Like, I mean, you talk about, Joe, I know you produce a show called The Cheap Seats. I was in the cheap seats. There was only 1 row behind me. But it was a really, really good day out. So,
did you turn behind you and taunt the peasants that couldn't afford your primo seats?
Didn't get the VIP treatment, I see. No, it was, go on.
Stoll, talk to us about Razzo a little bit. I mean, I know that, Real Madrid got completely dominated in the game. Was there anything, was there any, moment for her, or was it just, she just could not get near the ball?
Like, I saw some people saying, they're not really playing to her strength. And it's like, well, based on yesterday, they weren't playing to anyone's strengths, except maybe the keeper, because they were letting the keeper make a lot of saves. No, it was, look, I don't think she deserved to be pulled off after 45 minutes. I don't think that her being substituted, I wouldn't say it was a reflection of the performance. Probably they just wanted to change shape because they were getting towed up. It didn't change anything in the second half. They still got towed up. I mean, Real Madrid's team is kind of solid. Like, they've got Caicedo.
Yeah, I was going to say they've got like a whole bunch of big name players in that team. Do they not?
You know what it reminded me of?
Sousa from the Brazilian team, Signa Bruin.
It reminded me of the famous 5-0 Pep's Barca versus Madrid's Mourinho. I mean, they had a great team too, but when your team is that good and that in sync and you're at home, like, it doesn't really matter what you do. So she had a couple of runs down the side with the ball, but honestly, like, no one did anything in that Real Madrid team that you would be like, oh, okay, it was a good performance by them. It was just, they literally couldn't get anywhere. They could barely get a shot. It was insane dominant. And this is also, like, obviously Barcelona has kind of had a women's team for quite a while now, and quite a dominant women's team. And Madrid's only had a women's team, I think, for 2 or 3 years. They only took over one recently. And they are putting more and more money in, and they're buying better and better players. And my kind of big galaxy brain theory is that they'll actually go for Sam Kerr maybe in the next year or two. That's kind of where I think they'll look to invest. That, it's Madrid, they love superstars. Sam Kerr is the biggest non-Barca superstar. Sam Kerr's probably not going to go to Barcelona. Maybe she wants to leave Chelsea. Now Emma Hayes is out. Maybe it's time for a different challenge.
How much more when, you finish up at Chelsea, been there for so many years? I guess what's next for Kerr?
Exactly. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wait, this is just correct. She's hasn't won the Champions League yet with Chelsea?
No. She hasn't won the Champions League with Chelsea.
If Chelsea win the Champions League this year, she's, ticked every box and she's won everything in England. what's next? What's the next challenge? I mean, we don't want to, stir the pot and say she's going to leave. But it's just sort of theorizing that if a club wants to make a splash, like that's the player to go and get, right?
And I think Real Madrid, and you're already seeing it, they are investing a lot more money, and they are closing the gap essentially. I think it's only 6 points now, but I think at the same stage last season or 2 seasons ago it was 15 points or something like that. So Madrid are closing the gap. They're getting better and better players. I think Sam Kerr might be the big marquee signing that really pushes them into competing, because Real Madrid are they're not gonna look at this 5-0 and go, okay, yeah, that's fine, no worries, keep going. They'll go, okay, we need to spend more, we need to go harder. So, and I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Sam Kerr go to what is essentially the biggest club in the world, and how big that would be for her. Obviously, Razzo's there now; they've got a good relationship. It'd be really interesting to see if that happens, or is the good thing will be, and the interesting thing will be, we're going to see Aussie women players play for some massive clubs. And we're already seeing it with Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City and Spurs and that kind of thing. And now we're obviously Razzo at Real Madrid, and we've had players in Italy as well. But I think we're going to see some at the biggest clubs in the world, and that's going to be super exciting. And I think Real Madrid's going to be a part of that.
Are we recreating like the Messi, Ronaldo, Barca, Real years with Bonmati and Kerr? Is that what we're fantasy booking here?
I'd hope so.
Especially, honestly, I see a few similarities there. Like Bonmati is like this skillful kind of playmaker, and Kerr's this outrageous goal scorer who's phenomenal in the air as well. I see it. I think it works branding wise. I feel like Real Madrid would see themselves in Sam Kerr and their kind of persona.
Imagine Real Madrid go full Galacticos and just just go out and buy everyone, like literally just go and buy everyone, like just do like early 2000s Real Madrid with the men's team.
Yeah. Well, Alan Riley says this is NRI at its finest. Yes, it is. That's what Real Madrid does. They based an entire policy on it, and that's how they became the biggest team in the world. Torres makes the point, Kerr will probably go back to the NWSL now she's engaged. Well, why couldn't her partner come to Spain? I mean, I'm living here. It's great. It's really good here. I don't know where her partner lives. I can't remember what team she plays for, but whatever. Kerr's also already played in the NWSL, and she was like the record goal scorer, top goal scorer, whatever it was. She's done that. She doesn't need to do that anymore. I know, honestly, like these days, I think that's a level below. The European level is better now. That's where all the superstars are going to go. You're going to see much more American players come to Europe than you're going to see the big superstars from other countries go to America anyway, in my opinion. Jack
just
says,
on that, I would like to just criticize some of the reporting around Kerr's engagement, because you know me, I love a pun, probably more than anyone on this podcast, but it has to make sense. And Kerr finds her keeper when her partner is an outfield player is a straight red card for me.
Yeah,
no good.
Horrible. You know what? SEO has killed the pun headlines, and people just don't have that brain for it anymore. It's a lost art. Jack says Kerr deserves a huge payday at her last club. Well, Real Madrid could be it. What a way to go out. It's crazy to think like Kerr, like final club, like she's just been such a superstar for so long. But I guess it is coming.
There'll be someone in WA right now going, her final club will be the West Coast Eagles. The pitch is still there. There'll be someone out there going.
Has anyone checked the draft? Didn't they have the number 1 pick or something?
Kerr linking up with Harley Reid in a few years is going to be exciting.
Honestly,
we've got to check to see if they've already drafted her. We might be behind the 8 ball here.
More chance she owns Perth Glory than plays for the West Coast Eagles.
How did we not think of that, by the way? How did Kerr not come up last week?
What's Daniel Sturridge up to? Is he still in Perth?
he's still looking.
Yeah, he's still looking for a hairdresser. Once he finds one, he's going to turn out in the A-League, and it's going to be a glorious era.
He's become a pundit on Sky Sports. They really rate him. So anyway, hey, Devon, I know you've got to go soon, but just wanted to quickly mention we won a World Cup. It was in a different sport. But guys, thoughts on us world champions in a sport? Look, let's be honest. When rugby league says it's a World Cup, it's a little bit like, what are you talking about? It's New Zealand and England, and we're better than both of them. Come on, we're not claiming that one. Then there's I guess hockey and those type of World Cups, which I guess we can claim. I don't know how many people play hockey, but it seems relatively accessible. There's rugby, which is like, yep, solid. It's played in quite a few sports, not exactly like the world, but it's played in quite a few. But cricket, yeah, it's not played everywhere, but it is the biggest sport for 1.4 billion people in India. And everything was made for them to win this World Cup. They were in the Modi Stadium. Modi was sitting in the crowd. They had the pitch made for them. They were the best team coming in. We were massive outsiders. And Travis Head, 29-year-old from South Australia, said, fuck that. I don't care about anything. You guys are going to have a crap night. Here we go. Bang, 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 all over the field. And I was just thinking, this guy's just there in front of 130,000 people and just like, nah, I don't like. I think it'd be just funny if you guys lose. Like that was what it felt like the Aussies' attitude was. You know, like didn't you look at Pat Cummins and every time like you see an interview with him, he just looks like he's like, I just think it'd be funny if we win. And like the same with the Ashes. Like, oh, let's just annoy the English. And honestly, I love this Australian cricket team now. These guys are so awesome, and it was amazing to see. Debano.
It's just great that we keep winning everything on the other. Well, actually, we didn't win the Ashes, but technically we won the Ashes. You know,
we won the Ashes.
Yeah.
Shut up, England.
Retained is good enough. Who was lifting up the tiny little trophy at the end?
Yeah,
exactly.
We were holding
exactly.
The soccer Ashes. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There you go. You know,
suffering your jocks, New Zealand.
I mean, Ange dominating in the UK, another Aussie taking the piss where they're just sticking it up the others. I mean, it's a good feeling when that keeps happening, and it was just like, it's just what, winning a cup final or a tournament or whatever when you're the away team always hits better. I'm just surprised we didn't get a Peru situation, like how they turned the lights off. Could you imagine if that had happened last night?
You know what I thought you said when Peru situation? I thought you were talking about like Andrew Redmayne and goalkeeper, right? And what would have been really funny is if on the last ball, I can't remember who it was, Glenn Maxwell or whatever, on the very last ball where we were guaranteed to win, if he just started doing the crazy wiggle.
Or just like baseball stance, just...
well, that's illegal now for goalkeepers, so we can only do it in the cricket. Yeah,
they make everything fun.
IFAB hates fun. We're like the anti-IFAB. That's what this podcast should be called.
Hey, look, quickly, I just wanted to also say that we ticked over 10 million downloads this week for this pod. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in. You might think 10 million, that seems like a lot. It is. And actually, I just made that number up, but because I heard Gary Lineker say it on his pod and it sounded really cool. So I just wanted to get in there as well that we also ticked over 10 million. So
we got Debano to log into the back end and just type in the number.
Yeah. If you see, on a serious note, if you could I don't know, do all the things that really is good that people say in podcasts, 5 stars somewhere, subscribe, send to someone, post us in Reddit, because I tried to do that a couple of times and then I got pinged for self-promotion, which I mean, fair enough. That's really all I was doing in there. But then, I was a little bit so if you can just promote us into the Reddit world, that would be great. Jack says via YouTube, talking about the cricket match last night, panning to the crowd with every boundary was comedy gold. Yeah, see, love it. Lockie Flanagan makes the point. Newcastle Jets keeper Ryan Scott stiffed to miss out on the Aussie Cricket World Cup squad after his knock of 200 for Gembrook sub-districts in 2017. That is a deep cut, Lockie. I don't really understand the reference, but
I don't know what that means at all.
No, seriously, Ryan Scott from the Jets, he actually told us this on an interview on FNR.
Okay.
He made a double century. He used to play both soccer and cricket because he was an NPL player. He was a brickie or whatever, tradie, and by day, and he used to play cricket in the summer, and he made a double century in local cricket.
Was he too woke for the national team? Was that why he never quite
I think breaking into the A-League may have had something to do with his cricket career.
I will say, just on Ryan Scott, I've heard he is the best number 2 goalkeeper in the league, right? As in, your number 2 goalkeeper, you really, an important part, obviously you need to be a really good goalkeeper and you need to be backing up the number 1 goalkeeper, but a massive part of that is vibes. And apparently Ryan Scott is one of the all-time great vibes in the dressing room kind of guys. So
I think
he's honestly looking to surpass peak Pepe Reina in that regard. for Spain. You know,
You know, Beberena turned out to be quite the fascist here in Spain. So
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
Maybe Pinto. Remember Pinto at Barcelona? Horrible keeper. Messi's
Dreadies.
security guard. Yeah. Horrible keeper.
I just remember Pepe Reina forcing like a Barcelona jersey on Cesc Fabregas while they were celebrating the World Cup. I think that was when he hadn't signed for Barcelona yet. He was still at Arsenal, and they're like, come on, we know where you really want to play. But I enjoyed this Australian cricket team. I especially enjoyed Glenn Maxwell making 200 just days after he fell off the back of a golf cart and injured himself. That's the sort of larrikin
That's the Aussie spirit.
that we're embracing in all our national teams now. Honestly, we talk about the irrational confidence Socceroos.
You know what? Is like across like kind of a weirdly serious point. Are our national teams just way more likable now as people? Like, you know, if you kind of think of like the great cricket team of the past, let's say there wasn't the most likable group in there, right? And then now if you think about like the Socceroos, it's not the superstars of old, but they're a very likable bunch of people, right? You know, we talk how much we like, you know, Jackson Irvine and Mitch Duke and all these kind of people. The Matildas, extremely likable. The Boomers, extremely likable. The Australian cricket team, extremely likable. I'll be honest with you, I don't follow any of the other sports, but I'm sure good guys, left and girls, left and right. But do you think something has changed?
Yeah, I mean, Eddie Jones, just what a likable guy.
Forget the coaches. It's about the players. You know, I can't remember who's in the rugby team, but
I think so. I think you're onto something, Stoll. I think, you know, just to complete it, though, we just need the Boomers to win gold in France. It's just a shame, you know, we can't have to wait another extra 4 years to do it in LA. And imagine just the crypto.com arena just completely silent when Ben Simmons knocks down a 3 to win the game. Ben's head to Bill Simmons, bro, you know, there's that Bill Simmons meme from Game 7 last year where he's looking just distraught in the Boston crowd. We need Bill Simmons or just a shot of all the American pundits just looking sad. Be great.
All right, look, we've gone an hour. I think that's enough. Joe, do you have any final words for the people? Any final bits of advice?
Yeah, Nick, it was lovely to meet you. This has been really fun. I hope we can do it again.
You too.
Ooh, MAFFS. Ooh, from football friends.
We're coupling up.
Josh, do you have anything nice to say to me?
I don't know how moving to Spain suddenly turned you into a cricket fan, but it's funny how that happens. You know, these expats, they just long for home. You know?
Nah, you know what it is? I mean, first of all, it's just funny, like, because we were massive outsiders. Now I wanted to watch. Like, when we were dominating, that was when it was like, oh, it's kind of boring, whatever. But now that we're outsiders and everything was kind of just made for India to win this tournament, that's what I wanted to see. And then the second thing is time zones. It was like Sunday afternoon. It was like 1 p.m. here. I was like, all right, no worries, just after lunch, flick it on, and it was cool to see. So,
Stoll, just can't wait for the 1 a.m. kickoff in Q8.
I am watching more Australian football now, as in A-League, than I did back home because it's on in the morning. So it's really like easy to watch.
Next year, you're going to be saying that you were watching, like when it gets to March next year, you're watching the opening round of the AFL and NRL in Vegas as well while you're at it. You know, just you're taking in all the Aussie sports now that you're
What? The opening round of the AFL and NRL's in Vegas?
No, NRL in Vegas. The opening round of the AFL separate. Jeez, yeah, the NRL's playing in Vegas. Yeah,
I hope it goes better than
the
F1. Well, look, congratulations.
Could you imagine a worse idea than bringing the worst behaved group of athletes in the world to Vegas for opening weekend? I'm just saying. I'm not looking forward to the phone videos that are going to come out after that.
Look, when it happens, we'll mention it on the show. Jack says, really enjoyed this episode of MAFFS Island. Yeah, it was one of our best. So go share it, like it, subscribe to it. I don't know. Just do things that help, that make it easier, because, otherwise, eventually we want to keep doing this. So, yeah. Guys, thank you very much. Thanks and success to all that have listened. Any final words from anyone? No.
Calm the Socceroos.
We've left it all. We've left it all on the floor. All right. We've put it all out there. We've got nothing left here. So please have a great week and we'll see you next week.